Cam Heyward is not happy, and rightfully so. Another year goes by where he dominates, and then it's preceded by an offseason where he's ranked lower than what he should be amongst his peers on the defensive line by people that don't know football. What's sad about this is this ranking comes from Jeremy Fowler, an esteemed ESPN writer. But no, it's not his list, so don't get out the pitchforks for him. All he did was survey NFL GMs, scouts, executives, and players to form their top 10 lists for each position group, and then he kind of takes the average of all of them, and voila, we have a top 10 list that makes the ESPN.com site. And for this one, we have the interior defensive lineman. Let's go over the ranking. Number 1, Aaron Donald. No surprise there. 2, Jeffrey Simmons. 3, Chris Jones. 4, DeForest Buckner. And then 5, we have Cam Heyward of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So after hearing and seeing this list for yourselves and also understanding the context of where it comes from, what are we supposed to make of the people that are so deeply involved in the league that we love? I mean, it's pretty obvious they don't know the game. And that, my friends, is why I called it sad. Okay, Aaron Donald at 1. Obviously, no problem here. We'll give him the top spot. But after that, Simmons, Buckner, Jones, all really good players, deserving of praise and recognition, but they're still not better than Cam Heyward. Heyward was better in every statistical category versus those 3 last year, outside of QB hits, 1 less than Buckner, and was tied with Jones. So what are we doing here? And it's not like last year was some outlier for Cam either, because if you look at the last 5 seasons, he's been tremendous. A 5-time Pro Bowler, 3 times first-team All-Pro, and then 1 time he was a second-team All-Pro. What more can you ask? If anything, the dude on this list that can be dubbed a one-hit wonder is Jeffrey Simmons, the dude that they have at 2. Don't get me wrong, he's great, he's young, and will continue to do great things, but after just 1 season of the production that he had, and it's arguably worse than what Cam Heyward did just last season, they automatically just put him up to 2? Make that make sense. And here's what Cam had to say about where he stands on this list. I respect my peers, but this list ain't right. They be sleeping, always trying to put down my game. Got more work to do. Definitely getting some TJ Watt, Depoy, snub vibes from Cam right now, which could make things interesting. Is Cam going to be going for the sack record? And the more that I think about it, do they do sack total over-unders?
A few moments later.
Okay, so I just checked, and they don't really do sack total over-unders. I don't know why, but the only site that did was DraftKings, and they just had the rookie guys that were drafted in the first round. So that sucks. Maybe something to monitor going forward if they do update it, because if they do have Cam at like a 7-sack season, I say take the over. But I did check out of curiosity for the Depoy. Of course, TJ Watt is the favorite at plus 700. Cam Heyward, though, is plus 7,500. So that might be something also to look at if you want to maybe put some money on both to cover all your bases. Minka Fitzpatrick was also at plus 7,500. And I believe, if my memory serves me correct, Miles Jack was at like plus 15,000. So maybe you sprinkle a little bit of your money on all those guys, the top 4 guys on a Steelers defense we expect to be really good. Because if they do end up in like the top 3 and the Steelers team as a whole is making a little bit of a run toward the playoffs, then 1 or 2 of those guys are going to get some recognition. Not a bad thing to think about. Another reason, though, that Cam being number 5 on this list is rather shocking and disturbing is that weren't people literally talking about Cam Heyward having a better season than Aaron Donald in the middle of last season, and talking about how him and Donald are kind of in a tier in and of themselves, and then it's everyone else on the interior defensive line? Like, what happened there? Where do we go from that to then all of a sudden Cam Heyward being 5? Because trust me, he didn't fall off. But for a disclaimer, I do feel like AD is on another level. I mean, we're talking probably about him as being one of the best defensive players of all time, across the board, all 11 positions. But I do feel like Cam is definitely locked into that next spot. But also in Cam's defense, if we're just talking about last season, the numbers between him and AD aren't that far off. Approximate value for Cam was 16, AD was 17. And then you look at the tackles, the sacks, they're kind of close. But I also think in a weird way, people take for granted how good Heyward was for this Steelers defense last year. Maybe it's because they look at our rush defense rankings and see that we were worse in the league. But for Christ's sakes, anyone that actually watched the games know that if it wasn't for Heyward, it would have been worse than that. Somehow, I don't know how that's possible, but it would have been worse because dude was, a 300-pound defensive lineman making tackles 20 or 30 yards down the field as our last defense. So add this list to the other atrocities we've witnessed this offseason. We can at least expect this from PFF. Didn't think I'd see it from execs, GMs, players, and scouts, but now we know. Well, actually, I guess we did know because last year they had TJ at number 2 whenever we're talking about edge rushers. And they didn't even have Big Ben in the top 10. So that is it for this edition of Big Deke News. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think of these rankings and whatnot. I'm assuming I know what your answers are going to be, but put them down in the comments anyway. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay chillin'. Peace.